On this video, I'm going to do a deal breakdown on this house right here that we just wholesaled for a $34,500 profit. Now I'm going to break down everything from how we found the deal all the way to how we sold the deal to an end buyer and everything in between. There's going to be a lot of lessons and a lot of nuggets here that you're not going to want to miss. All that and more coming up.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's Wholesaler Contract Pack with all the contracts you need to flip houses without risk. Claim your free copy at wholesalecontracts.com.
So first, let's talk about where this deal came from. This was a lead that came through SEO, search engine optimization. What happened was a seller searched on Google using specific keywords, something like sell my house fast now or sell my house for cash, something along those lines. Google recognized those keywords. It displayed our website on page one, and the seller clicked on our website, filled out a form, and that's how we got the lead. Now, I want to take a minute here and talk about SEO versus PPC. PPC is pay per click. That's where you run ads. Google charges you if people click on those ads. And so it's a pay to play system. You pay basically to get displayed on page one of Google under certain keywords. Well, SEO is where you organically show up on page one. So with PPC, you pay now, you get displayed now, and you instantly pay to play, pay to get leads. So it's a very powerful way to get into the business. The long game, though, is SEO because it takes time to develop that presence. Google's looking for you to be an authority, and they're looking for very specific things in order to rank you in Google. So through the agency that we use, Bateman Collective, I'll put their link in the description if you want to check them out. We pay them to run our PPC ads, but we also pay them to do SEO. And we dedicate a few $1,000s every month to our SEO initiatives. And again, like I said, when you pay for SEO, since it takes time, you may not see a return on that investment for a year or longer. Fortunately, we're starting to see our SEO really pay off, which is huge because this lead didn't cost us anything in ad spend. Now, it cost us in investing in our SEO, but it didn't cost us anything in ad spend. So it's sort of like spend the money now, get leads ongoing from now on. Now, this is a lesson here that I really want to hopefully hit home with you is that play the long game in your real estate business. I mean, everything I try to do in my real estate business, I think about, okay, how is this going to impact long term? And everything is playing the long game. I want to establish myself in Tulsa, Oklahoma with my business partner, Mark Gabriel, as local market experts. We want to be well known in that community, in that market, as the go-to experts. I love you. Did you have dance?
No.
Why do you have your dance clothes on?
These are not dance.
You're not?
I went to gymnastics.
Oh,
Dad.
gymnastics. Okay. All right. Love you.
Love you.
Shut my door. So everything we do is the long game is where I was going with that. So, a lot of people get into the business and it's all about the here and now. How do I make money? How do I get a deal? They don't think about the ramifications of your actions. And so I want you to think about what can I do today? How am I interacting in my market? What relationships am I building? What type of marketing? What type of presence? Am I investing in the long term? Because if you do that, your business will continually grow and scale. I mean, we're probably going to double revenue this year in Tulsa from last year. And why? Because we're doing all the things, we're laying the groundwork, we're building the foundation to have a business that can scale to multi-millions of dollars a year. So that's, I think, takeaway number one. Second thing is when this lead came in, it was 9 p.m. Okay. Now, this is very common with inbound marketing. So our PPC ads and SEO in this case and other types of inbound marketing, oftentimes sellers are up late at night and they're, worried and anxiety and stress, and they're thinking about solving their problem and sell their unwanted house. So a lot of times you'll get these leads late at night and you have to be set up to take those inbound leads because you have a very, very small window of time. With our PPC, we think we have about 30 seconds to respond to that intake form that comes in. Because what happens is that seller, they're going to fill out the next form on the web on Google right after yours. And so oftentimes they'll fill out 2 or 3 forms. And so it really is speed to the deal. So the first one to respond to that seller will oftentimes get the deal. So this lead came in at 9. At 9:01, we were on the phone with the seller making an appointment for the next day. So we made that appointment. We went to meet the seller at the property the next day. One of the big business decisions that you have to make is, are you going to do a backyard model where you go on appointment and meet sellers in person, or are you going to do a remote or virtual business? Neither one are right or wrong. There's pros and cons to both. I really love having a local market presence, and I love to meet sellers in person at the kitchen table. Now, it doesn't have to be you personally, but a high-skilled acquisition salesperson to meet that seller and do the appointment. Why? Because when you meet a seller at the kitchen table, you instantly separate yourself above all the other virtual wholesalers who are trying to close on the phone. You can make much more of a connection. You're seeing the property in person. We get all our videos and pictures at that time. We don't have to have any contingencies because we got eyes on it. In my virtual business, because I do virtual as well, in my virtual business model where I'm closing on the phone, I haven't seen that property. I have to build in a contingency so that I can send somebody to the property, get really good, pictures and video and a walkthrough so that I can understand the condition of that property. So I have to build in those contingencies. And oftentimes it's not at all what I thought it was because the seller sugar-coated, the actual condition. You get out there and it's much worse. Needs a roof. They said it didn't, whatever.
Still paying for property data? PropWire gives you unlimited property data, comps, and more for free. Download the PropWire app on the App Store or Google Play Store today.
You end up negotiating a contracts that way naturally because you're not actually seeing it. On our appointment model where we go meet the sellers, we do our walkthrough at that point. We get our pictures and our video. We see the neighborhood. We see the neighbors to the left and right. We know if we're on a busy road. We know if we're backed up to commercial. We know all the things because we go see it. And we also understand our markets really well. So we know our numbers and we can walk in, walk out, waive contingencies, and have a very strong offer. And so think again, how do I separate myself above everybody else? One thing we do is, like I said, waive contingencies. We will put down strong earnest money. Everything we do is very professional. The way we interact with the seller, the way we communicate, the way we follow up, the way we contract, all of it is on a whole nother level. Why? Because I know that if I can separate myself from everybody else, then I have a high chance of getting more deals. And that's exactly what happened. This seller on this deal was a highly sophisticated seller. We don't run into sellers like this very often. When he filled out the form on our website, he had already talked to multiple other wholesalers. He had multiple offers, already written offers. And he said, here's exactly what my property needs. Here's what has been done so far to the property. Here's the offers I've got. Here's my mortgage balance. Here's the time frame I have. Like, he was very educated. You could tell he had done his homework and he had talked to a lot of other wholesalers. So we made the appointment. We went on appointment. And during that appointment, he had several offers, like I said, ranging from 120 to 140,000. And he said to us, he said, I want 170. These are the offers I've got. He was totally transparent. He laid it all out. And he said, can you beat these offers? I'm at 120 on the low end, 140 on the high end. And we said, you know what, Mr. Seller, we're probably not the right buyer for you. We can't beat any of those offers. Here's what we can do. And here's why we're better than everybody else. And here's what separates us from the rest of these offers you have. But if you're really looking for, a higher price and you want to try it out with one of these guys, call us if something doesn't go down, if you have any trouble, and we'll be here for you. So from that moment on, we walked out of that appointment, assumed it was a no-go, but we followed up because we're really good at that. We followed up, we stayed in touch, and 2 weeks later, he reaches back out to us and he says, look, of everybody I talked to, I like you guys the best. You're the most professional. You sound like you know what you're doing. You've helped me out understand things I didn't understand, like earnest money, closing, things like that. So he said, you were the most professional of everybody, and I want to work with you. And we said, well, thank you. That's such a compliment. We really pride ourselves on doing a good job with our sellers and the whole thing. But we can't beat any of those offers you have. And he said, well, how close can you get? Can you get somewhere close? And we said the best we could do would be 117.5, which, think about this. That was $52,500 below their asking price of 170 and $22,500 below their next best offer or their best offer. So we were way off from where this seller originally wanted and these other written offers that he's got on the table. But he said, I want to work with you guys. We back up what we do. We show testimonials. We show a presence. We have so much credibility. Why? Because we've been building that local market presence for a couple of years now, and we've established that, and we can really show that to sellers. So he ended up taking the 117.5. So we contracted the property at 117.5. We walked out of there with a complete file of pictures and video. And from that moment on, what we do in my business is there's a complete handoff to the dispositions department. And dispositions is going to take this from there. Acquisitions gets the contract. They lock up the deal. We have a meeting between the two, so we're always on the same page. But for the most part, it's two completely separate departments or functions within the business. So we do the handoff to dispo. Now, what does acquisitions do? They go right back on the next appointment. And I want you to think about this. People tell me all the time, the problem with an appointment model, meeting sellers at the homes, the problem with that is you can't scale. Now, I don't think that's true because listen to this. We close 1 in 4 appointments we go on. 1 in 4. So if I go on 4 appointments, one of those is going to turn into a profitable deal.
Find deals faster with PropWire. Search properties, skip trace owners, and get lead alerts. Download the PropWire app on the App Store or Google Play Store for free.
If I can stack up my days, like let's say that I could get my marketing really dialed in and I could have appointments where my acquisitions person can go on 4 appointments a day, takes you, we spend it on average about an hour and a half on appointment. You got drive time, but let's say that I could stack up 4 appointments a day. That's a contract a day. That's 365 contracts in a year. That's about as big as you ever going to want to scale a wholesale operation. That's a lot of deals. Last year, we did 100 wholesale transactions in Tulsa. This year, we may do around the same, but we're going to double revenue because we're doing a lot of other things and higher dollar deals, and we're taking down a lot more deals rather than assignments. So anyway, my point here is that you most certainly can scale a backyard model as big as you possibly want. And that's with one acquisition person going on 4 appointments a day. What if I had 2 acquisition people going on appointments every day? See what I mean? So don't buy into like you can't scale a backyard model. It's not true. Now, it is very convenient to sit at home on the computer and on the phone all day long and not have to go anywhere. That's really convenient. I love that about virtual because I travel a lot and I can be on vacation or anywhere and do deals. So that is true. That is very nice. But in today's competitive market, I think you have a huge advantage by going on appointment. So that's what happened in that case. We ended up getting the deal at 117.5. We did the handoff to dispositions, and now acquisitions goes right back at it. By the way, my goal with my acquisition reps is that they have one job and one job only: go on appointment and close deals. So they don't have to worry about lead gen, marketing, any of that stuff. They don't even have to field the calls. We have a lead manager that takes all our leads. They take the leads, they do some discovery, they warm it up, they set the appointment. And acquisitions goal is to just go on appointment, nothing else. He doesn't do accounting, he doesn't do dispo, he doesn't do really anything else, just that. We're getting ready to open another market, and that's how we're training our new acquisition guy. You do nothing else but appointments and closing. That's your job. We'll handle everything else. So in this case, we hand this off to dispo. Now, we run a very, very specific dispo process. And if you don't know, dispo means dispositions. It's the process of getting a buyer for your deal. And we look at every deal when we get that contract and we make a strategic decision. Are we going to sign this contract, or are we going to take it down and buy it and resell it, trash it out and resell it? Are we going to partner with one of our flippers? We do that as well. What are we doing with this deal? So in this case, we're like, this is a great deal. I think we can get a pretty good assignment on this one. Let's just do an assignment. So our dispo process is a 5-day process. From the day of contract, that's day 0, we have 5 more days of dispo. The 4th day is when we do an open house, and we block out a 2-hour window. And for days 1, 2, 3, days 0, 1, 2, and 3, so the day of the contract is day 0, the next 3 full days, our entire disposition agenda is to get cash buyers to that appointment, to that open house. And again, it's a 2-hour block. We want to get everybody there at the same time. Our goal is to create an auction environment. We tell all the buyers, look, here's the suggested asking price that we're looking for, but submit your highest and best. And we don't take a buy now number. We make all of our buyers compete against each other on every single deal. And if they come to us and say, hey, hook me up on this one, I'll give you your number or whatever, we say, hey, that's not fair to everybody else. Give us your best offer. And if you win, you get the deal. Okay, so our goal is to have 20, 30. We've had 40 buyers at our open houses, right? So we really focus on inbound, outbound. We actually call buyers. We use investor-based, investor lift. We treat our disposition just like acquisition, which is we put a lot of effort into the sale process to get the buyers at the open house. On day 4 is the open house. Day 5 is when we take the highest offer, and then we lock up the deal with our buyer that way. Now, I covered dispositions in a couple minutes there. I did an entire series here on my YouTube channel with my partner Mark Gabriel. I think it's like 5 or 6 videos, maybe 5 videos, where we broke down every single day and exactly what we do. I even have the SOP of a breakdown of our process that we use for our training our own teams, and I give that to you for free. So I'll put a link in the description for you to watch that disposition process. But I believe wholeheartedly that if you follow my dispo process, you will probably double revenue because you're going to be extracting the highest paying buyer. It is by far the best way to get the highest paying buyer. We've dialed this in so well that, we now can run a multi-million-dollar operation doing this business. But in the beginning, that's a little intimidating because your primary focus is on how do I just get my first deal? How do I get going? How do I get some traction? I don't have a marketing budget like you guys do. I don't have a team. I don't have processes really figured out. So, it all starts with the first deal, then the second deal, and then you start to roll forward and build the business. Don't get into this though if you're not looking to build a real business. This isn't a side hustle that you can just watch a couple of Jerry Norton videos on YouTube and you make all this money. You're going to have to invest in yourself, in your education, in your processes, in the business, in your teams, and marketing. It's like anything else. It's a real business that's going to take real effort and real time and real commitment. But in the beginning, to get that first deal, I did an entire YouTube series. I think it's maybe 3 or 4 hours total, 5 or 6 videos where I break down from start to finish how to do your first deal. And even in that series is like, okay, now you've got your first deal. Here's what you need to do to continue doing deals every month and every week. So I want to encourage you to watch that series. It's going to really help you get the foundational skills you need to get started. And again, I'll put that link as well in the description below so you can watch that playlist of getting your first deal. So guys, watch that now, and I hope you got a lot out of this. Leave a comment, tell me your big takeaways, what you learned from this, and I'd love to hear from you on that, and I'll see you on the next video.